is up, everyone? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we'll be reacting to the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix comedy review. Now, I've loved every time I've done a comedy review from this channel. I've absolutely loved it, and I thought, well, I have to do, even though it's a bit delayed, it's been like nearly 2 weeks since the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, I need to do a comedy review on it. I feel like the race was good in itself. Like, I enjoyed it when I was watching it. There were so many different things happening. There were so many things going on. But there was also a lot in it that could have been picked up as stupid and ridiculous and comedic. So I'm excited to get into this. I'm just going to shut up and we'll get straight into it.
"281 days. That's how long it's been since the lights went out in Bahrain, and the 2020 Formula One season got going.
I just got chills just at that number. Like,
of excitement, pain, drama.
It's been so quick.
Pain, bottling, and last but not least, pain.
Stop.
281
Stop.
days.
That hurts.
24 Grand Prix. And yet we end at this piece of shit. My thoughts on the Abu Dhabi circuit are more than well known at this point. A pitiful excuse for a racetrack, which typically carries about as much excitement as one of Lance Stroll's orgasms. And yet, money talks. So, hey there guys, I'm Will. Welcome to FP1 and the final comedy review of the year. The end of term feeling felt much more real this time around. 2023's rendition carried the stakes of a Teletubbies episode, with all 10 teams sticking with their pick of meat going into the new year. 2024's farewell, meanwhile, has a lot more riding on it. With the title fight for one, well, technically anyway, and several names drop off the grid at the end of the season, most of which we'll likely never see again unless you subject yourself to watching Formula E for some reason. With so much to talk about,
I don't watch that.
A little more of your time by begging you to like, and begging you to subscribe, and begging you to join the Patreon, and begging you to follow me on every social media channel under the sun, because I'm a vain husk of a human being who lives off the little dopamine hits gained by you clicking on a button. Honestly, what the f*** am I doing with my life? Anyway, with that charming realization, let's get into the comedy review. It's the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
Here we go.
News, and how can we not start by bringing up for about the 849th time this season that Lewis Hamilton is entering his last race with the Silver Arrows this weekend.
It was very sad. I shed a tear.
Decided they would bid
multiple.
#farewell by reminding him of the times where they were actually good and not developing carbon fibre trampolines that were about as much use as new teammate Charles Leclerc's brain. The team also put out a tribute video left in black and white to cleverly avoid FOM copyright claims and voiced solely by children to help keep costs down. And that wasn't all, as Lewis's car this weekend will be adorned by the names of 150 AI bots who won some competition a few weeks ago. Or the 150 AI bots who didn't submit the names Nico Rosberg, Diddy or Michael Massey. This was in addition to a new slogan stickered onto Lewis's cockpit, reading, "Every dream needs a team." A quote so inspiring, Lewis asked for it to be removed. Yet for a big farewell, this felt more like both parties were just glad to be ending a long, abusive relationship. Perhaps the only person who seemed...
It did kind of feel like that.
...teammate George Russell, who spent the build-up fangirling like a Twitter user, then ambushing Hamilton on stage to finally sign his 15-year-old copy of his autobiography, which looked suspiciously like it was bought yesterday. George had far bigger problems coming into this one, as in Qatar he managed to rather frustrate a certain Max Verstappen, who was already having a bad week, having found out his partner Kelly Piquet was pregnant, and thus is about to ditch the Dutchman, the next up-and-coming fetus in the Red Bull
No, stop.
I have a full video on this F1 fight night already, but I just want to add hats off to the rest of the grid for acting as mature as my old high school group chat. Russell was the last to arrive at the GPDA dinner on Thursday, and thus the class of 2024 left the only vacant seat as the one right next to Verstappen. For the record, the comedy review is in full support of this behaviour. At the end of this one, and it's becoming clear that several of the outgoing drivers had hit their no f***s given phase of their F1 farewells. Take Porridge Man casually outing his Sauber team on X, or Kevin Magnussen
I loved that tweet.
Photo to his Instagram, along with a caption suggesting he was about to enact a terrorist attack. Okay, turns out this last one was fake, but it was still too funny not to include anyway. Esteban Ocon was also taking the stance of, what are they going to do, fire me? Only that's exactly what his Alpine team did, dropping the Frenchman for new 2025 signing Jack.
Yeah, that was crazy that they just
moment of the season,
let him in
not an Alpine
a race before.
The back of their car. Apparently, the team were holding a post-season test with Haas hostage unless Ocon agreed to part ways early. Missing this would have compromised the start to the Frenchman's relationship with his new team, particularly after Nico Hülkenberg's attempt to show Esteban around his car didn't end particularly well at turn 1 last time out. And so it's a sad way to see a 5-year partnership end, though Alpine continues to feature in this comedy review. Is it's time for X Bell End of the Week.
Lovely. This is my favourite bit.
Woman. Oh, this is going to get me so cancelled.
Excuse me?
When Alpine affiliate driver Sophia Flörsch came across a motorsport.com article sucking off Lewis Hamilton, she decided it would be a perfect opportunity to embarrass herself. The piece involved Lewis claiming that if he'd ever set up a Formula
I don't think I've seen this
team,
actually.
he'd sign up Mercedes F1
Oh, I saw that.
driver Dorian Pan. And for those who have forgotten who she is, this is the driver who forgot what the checkered flag meant and thus lost her race win back in Saudi Arabia. Put your money where your mouth is, was Sophia's reply, suggesting Lewis wasn't spending his hard-earned offshore account on improving diversity in Formula 1. You can see how well this is going to end, can't you?
Great.
A small Google search would have saved you from this idiocy, as Team LH flocked to the scene like a pack of sharks circling a clubbed seal. Except this was X, and everyone was acting like they'd been clubbed at an early age. This person was right, though, as Hamilton has given a whopping $23 million to charity in recent years, which I'm sure some people will still argue is nowhere near enough. But anyway, here are a few of my favourite
people these days.
Initial tweet. Put your brain where your mouth is. Don't worry about it, because he won't consider you anyway. Bro, who the f*** are you? Even Donald Trump ended up weighing in on this situation, claiming Logan Sargent is better than you flop ass. At the end of the day, I actually think this whole X war has been blown way out of proportion. You can call me a simp or whatever you like, but people forget just how much Sophia herself has campaigned for women's inclusion in motorsport. Look, here she is literally taking...
No, stop! I've seen that clip too many times.
Thanks to those who submitted this for X Bell End of the Week, and if you would like to do my job for me, then you can use the hashtag on screen, tag me on the platform, or risk joining my Discord server. Anyway, I think it's time we got back to the action. Oh look, a new angle of 9/11. First practice of the final race of the season saw a whole host of
it just keeps coming
to the track. Joining the greats were this guy who you've never heard of, this guy who can't drive, this guy who won't make it to F1.
Yeah, FP1 was so crazy in Abu Dhabi. There were so many different rookies.
Logan Sargent.
I couldn't keep up.
Was nepotism, as Charles Leclerc and his brother Arthur looked to make history by becoming the first brothers to compete as teammates. Charles would nearly not make it out, however, firstly due to endlessly shitting himself, and then because Ferrari had to replace the battery on his car, resulting in a 10th-place grid drop for the Monegasque, but that's alright, they're not winning the Constructors' Championship anyway. Charles would at least find a silver lining by topping the session.
Yeah, Ferrari always bottled it. I can say that as a raging Ferrari fan, okay? Don't come for me in the comments.
For new parts. Superstar turned next coming of Mick Schumacher, Franco Colapinto, revealed he didn't like these new components and thus proceeded to break more, ruling him out of the rest of FP2. His teammate Alex Albon would run into trouble as well, having to complete a lap stuck in third gear in what was secretly
that was crazy.
Their driver to go slow enough so to not hit anything for once. The afternoon would be ruled by McLaren, who bagged the top 2 times as Norris led Piastri come the end of the session. That wasn't all plain sailing for the Woking squad, with both drivers needing to be reminded of Abu Dhabi's track layouts at points during the hour. Nico Hülkenberg would also
I definitely think they need to change the track at least if they're going to keep racing there.
Continued to impress on Saturday morning. Both cars in the top 10, and the session once again dominated by Team Papaya. Red Bull were on their heels. Well, at least one of them was. Sergio Perez
I was going to say,
back from Max Verstappen,
it's not Red Bull, it's Max.
Consider a win these days. The Mexican's imminent sacking is now not even considered speculation anymore. Red Bull's impressive show of confidence in the face of degeneracy is now worn thin, with crisis talks on Monday aiming to determine Checo's fate.
Well, they announced it yesterday that he's departing with Red Bull. And they put Liam Lawson in the seat. Justice for Yuki.
Drive again, which has been filmed and posted to Red Bull's social media channels as the only lasting memory of Checo's contribution to the outfit. That being said, the only people still in the belief that Checo will have a ride next season is his dad and the man himself. And that he'll be in a Red Bull come 2025.
It's the epitome of delusion.
It's, quote, unfortunate that Red Bull didn't try harder to win the Constructors. You know what? He's right. It is unfortunate the team didn't euthanize him sooner. Danny Rick would at least have been remotely likeable, even if he would have been just as slow. Returning to FP3, and there were at least brighter skies for Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton, who had swapped chassis ahead of this final round, resulting in a magical return to form for #blessed, all while Russell drowned in their disability awareness car. Third going into quali, perhaps Lewis could finally get that fairy tale send-off after all. Except as Q1 rolled around.
Okay, that was so unlucky. How did that even happen?
His final weekend as a Mercedes driver into one of those last.
Well, I know how it happened, but horrific.
It had to be this one, didn't it? Meanwhile, over at Alpine, unfortunately, Jack isn't through to Q2. A good qualifying though. Yeah, Jack was 20th, and Ocon's wetting himself. The other Alpine of Gasly would go all the way to Q3. The other surprise in that top 10 being Bottas, whose tweet now might age like an FP1 video. On the subject of making bad decisions, Ferrari had seemingly mixed up their Leclercs, as Arthur was mistakenly sent out in Q2 and took the 16 car to only 14th after a track limits violation. Onward to Q3 then.
I was going to go, wait, really? But no.
Hopes up when he almost speared his RB.
Yeah, that was insane. I genuinely thought he was going to smack it into the wall.
Half a second. That was compared to a Haas, to be fair, although Hulkenberg was on some next-level performance-enhancing drugs on Saturday, as he proceeded to slot into provisional pole in the dying seconds of the session.
Yeah, that was insane.
However, as Piastri soon displaced the German at the top of the times, Norris then getting the edge on both of them as he took pole for Sunday's Grand Prix. That caused Zach Brown to climax at the end of a thrilling final qualifying session of the year, only for celebrations to be ruined by the FIA as they penalised Hulkenberg.
Yeah, I hated that.
Saturday performance was tarnished thanks to the Haas driver thinking you're allowed to overtake in the pit lane now. Race day would open with Hamilton so done with his dream team that he entered the circuit wearing the blood of the man who cost him his Q1 exit.
Lovely.
With some prayers with his family, it was lights out, away we go, with a complete and utter show.
I do remember this race being so chaotic.
Year, though he forgot to ask Oscar Piastri for permission down at turn 1. That sent both cars around as Norris checked out in front. I don't know what's more impressive, the Briton holding the lead off the start, or the fact that despite Max spinning to the back,
I hate that that's a running joke now.
Ahead of Perez again. That was partly thanks to Porridge Man, who claimed Red Bull didn't like him very much coming into this one, and attempting to reconciliate by putting Checo around at the chicane, in a move that saw Leclerc glide around the outside of about 17 cars and into 8th. That crash would mark the end of the Perez hate-watch show as the Mexican pulled over, or just gave up, and brought out the virtual safety car.
Yeah.
That was enough time for the stewards to work out exactly what the happened on that start, awarding Max with a 10-second penalty for his incident down at turn 1. Piastri was furious over the team radio, calling the Dutchman's actions a move of a world champion.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I loved those. The radio messages from that Grand Prix were iconic. I loved them.
Laps, he trundled around with a puncture into eventual retirement. Norris held the lead then with a comfortable gap back to Sainz. With an opening stage so action-packed, it was easy to miss that Gasly was making up the rostrum, and Hulkenberg was 5th in the Haas. That podium dream would quickly be thwarted by Leclerc, who pulled a stunning move around the inside of turn 9 as the Monegasque fight back continued. His future teammate, Lewis Hamilton, wasn't quite enjoying things so much, still crying over the radio that he had no pace, unbeknownst to the fact that Mercedes had put him on mute back on the formation lap. The other Mercedes of Russell was stuck behind the Alpine of Gasly, which is like being held up by someone doing 45 in the fast lane. Gasly wasn't really defending, he was just existing.
It just keeps coming.
Way possible, like a French traffic cone with an attitude problem. Moving on, then Carlos Sainz claims he's not sad about leaving Ferrari and is instead excited about joining Williams in 2025.
Really? I didn't believe that.
Lie, but on the side, the Spaniard was now in the pits and getting a massive undercut on Lando Norris, getting the gap down to just under 2 seconds. Lawson was trying to get an undercut on someone as well, only his eagerness.
But they didn't put the wheel on properly.
He left the pits with only 3 tyres secured to his car before proceeding to drive around the track at an average speed of 500 kilometers per hour like a lunatic. Strategy was also up in the air for #Blessed, who hadn't been called into the pitch yet out of fear his anger at the team.
I need a count on how many times he said that.
Britain's pit crew. Bono was on the radio claiming he had a cunning plan, which might have involved enrolling Bottas into his reserve driver role early and instructing him to Magnussen down
which
at the
they
chicane.
Also announced today.
Desired safety car and instead just ended the Finns' F1 career with broken suspension. A safety car was the last thing McLaren needed, with the Constructors' Championship still in the bag despite Saddam Verstappen's suicide attempt at the first corner. Oscar Piastri must not have got this memo as he almost sent Yuki Tsunoda into the Abu Dhabi harbour with just 10 tours of 2024 remaining. With that title more or less secured then, attention was drawn back to the pair of silver arrows. Hamilton hunting down Russell on softer tyres, with half of the F1 fanbase egging him on in his final race for the team, and the other half praying for an almighty collision because it would be funny as f***. It would come down to the final lap.
I was not praying for a collision.
Of course it had to. And there would be a yellow
I just wanted to see him reach the end of the race.
But Lawson identifying as an IED did nothing to stop Lewis Hamilton, who sailed around the outside of Russell to take 4th and complete a superb comeback drive. Only downside is he now has to talk to Nico Rosberg. Oh, never mind, apparently he's run away. Speaking of comebacks,
yeah, he did. He just like fucked off, didn't he?
Recording more overtakes at Abu Dhabi than we've seen at this circuit in its lifetime. Although Ferrari's eventual 2-3 finish wasn't enough, and Lando Norris crossed the line to take the final victory of the season and secure McLaren's
which I happily enjoyed.
1998. Don't worry, Ferrari fans, I'm sure next year will be your year. as it has been for the last 16.
I was going to say, we say that every year.
In fact, even Abu Dhabi ended up being a somewhat exciting Grand Prix. If anything, this Grand Prix kind of summed up this entire season. McLaren versus Ferrari, Max attempting to hit anything he lays his eyes upon, and Perez being about as much use as his own contract extension. And really, this is just the precursor for 2025. 4 teams potentially fighting for the title. Lewis Hamilton and a Ferrari, George Russell and Max Verstappen murdering each other. It's going to be one hell of a year.
Oh, it will be.
Coming back, essentially with a few new additions as well, but I'll keep those under wraps for now. It's not.
Well, that definitely gave me what I wanted. Like I said, the last race was completely chaotic. There were so many things I was watching. I unfortunately didn't get to stream it, but I was watching it thinking, why is this happening? This is happening. Wait, did I stream it? I can't bloody remember now, but oh, I did, didn't I? I did stream it. What am I saying? Yeah, there were so many things happening, and I was like, what the hell? And then the choices that the FIA were making, unsurprisingly, I was like, what the hell? Why have you done that? But yeah, I did enjoy. I liked the fact that Lando won the last race. I had been saying since his last race win in Singapore, which was like back in September, I did say I really wanted him to win at least one more race before the season ends. And he managed to win the last race, which was really cool to watch. And McLaren won the Constructors, which I loved. You guys must get so confused because I do say that my favourite team is Ferrari. But I think because this year, McLaren have actually come to the front. They are like my second favourite team, but because they've been at the front and Lando was like thrown into this championship battle that was never really there. But the media made it out to be that there was this championship battle going on. I was just like rooting for McLaren at that point. But when I was watching the Abu Dhabi race, I was like, I think I said it on the stream, I was like, I don't actually care who wins the Constructors at the end of the day because we had such a good season. I got everything I wanted in the season. I had, 7 different race winners. Lando got his first win. Oscar got his first win. So many like historic things happened this season compared to last season where we just had one driver winning everything. I didn't care who won the Constructors, so it was really nice to see that in the last race anyway. But back to the video itself, I loved it. I do love the comedy reviews that this channel does. Maybe I'll have to watch a couple more videos from this channel over the winter break because what else am I going to do with my life until March? But yes, I did enjoy that video. So with that being said, if you have any other videos that you'd like me to react to, drop me them in the comments. I'm working my way through everybody's suggestions at the moment. If you did want to check out any of my other socials or become a Patreon member and get early access to videos like this or top priority of your suggestions, then you can do all of that down below. But I hope you enjoyed today's reaction and I will catch you next time for the next one. Bye.